All right, everybody, it's time to break my silence. We have a warm-up on the way, and that warm-up also may welcome a few thunderstorms. And we're watching a system at the beginning of next week that could bring some thunderstorms that might even be on the stronger side to the Great Lakes region. In this video, we break down that system as well as the temperatures that we could see over the next several days. Hello everybody, the time is 4:05 p.m. and it is February 20th. Welcome to another update from Great Lakes Weather. Hopefully everybody is doing well today. It has been a while since we've done a forecast video, really because the weather's been relatively quiet over the past few days, which has been kind of nice. We've seen a lot of sunshine, a lot of calm weather, and that's something we can always welcome. And I will say that's probably going to continue for a few days up to this point, and then we'll probably change come the beginning of next week as we see a system that could bring some impactful weather to the Great Lakes region, as well as much warmer temperatures for a couple days for the area. So we're going to get right into it. Again, this is actually a video from a past storm chase I did back in July, and there was a pretty powerful storm system as well. Strong inflow into this storm, lots of lightning also with this system as well. Maybe we'll see something similar to that at the beginning of next week. I'm already trying to plan ahead, making sure I could possibly storm chase this event later on, so we will see how it goes. But let's get right to it. You see the 6 to 10 day temperature outlook on your screen right now. We're going to break this down a little bit. We do have a nice warm pattern making its way into the Great Lakes region, okay? And you can see that the temperatures are pretty much close to guaranteed to being above average. Temperatures are going to rise into the mid to upper 50s over the next couple of days. There will be a system that brings a brief cool down across the Great Lakes region through the weekend, but by the time we get into next week, we'll be seeing 60s, arguably maybe even getting close to 70 degrees in some places across the Great Lakes region, depending on how the models shape out to be. But you can see that the temperatures over the next 6 to 10 days are forecasted to be well above average. Definitely going to feel like mid-spring with this incoming warm-up that we have. And we're gonna show exactly what's causing that setup, but let's first of all get to also the probability for precipitation, the risk of heavy precipitation. Let's zoom in on our area. Right now, the Climate Prediction Center is putting out a slight risk for heavy precipitation across a good chunk of the Great Lakes region for February 28th, February 29th. And that's the time we're going to be watching for this system as well. We are going to start watching it as early as February 27th because right now there's some good model consistency between the GFS and the Euro. There's still some spread amongst the other models, but the GFS and Euro have come together on a particular solution that will bring this storm into the area as early as Tuesday, February 27th. So not this Tuesday, but next Tuesday, okay? And again, keep in mind as I go through this model data, it's just model data, probably going to change as we get to this up to the actual event. So it might shift farther west, it might shift farther east, might shift south, okay? A lot of places a lot of these systems typically tend to go a little bit farther south in this particular pattern. So again, I'm just showing you model data, and then maybe that will provide some insight as to what might possibly occur, but it's not a forecast. So just keep that in mind. All right, so we have that slight risk for heavy precipitation and on February 28th, 29th across much of the Great Lakes region, and then you'll also see that rainfall across western Michigan and parts of Illinois as well. Illinois is also going to be on the table. I'm starting to do a little bit more forecasting for Illinois at this point, mainly because that's kind of a place that is nearby that's capable of being chased. I chased and caught a tornado there a couple weeks ago, which was pretty surprising. So again, risk of heavy precipitation is present with this. Let's take a look at exactly how warm it's going to get. We had warm temperatures today. We got temperatures into the 50s across much of the Great Lakes region. Farther north you go, the cooler it gets. Upper Peninsula, not so lucky with those temperatures. And again, it'll warm up once again, even a bit warmer. As we get into the day on Wednesday, temperatures are going to rise up into the 60s across southern Indiana, and then also possibly southern Ohio as well. Might see that as well. Temperatures in the mid-50s across Michigan as you go farther north. Once again, Upper Peninsula, northern Michigan, not really going to see as much luck with the temperatures. But you'll see that there will be a system making its way through on Thursday that will bring cooler temperatures for a brief time over the weekend. Okay, we'll talk about that system in just a minute. But you do see the temperatures do cool down on Saturday. But look, as we get into later on in the week, you see a pretty sharp warm-up making its way into the area by the time we get to by Monday. So you see Monday temperatures are in the mid-60s across much of Indiana, even getting close to 60 across southern Michigan and 50s across the Upper Peninsula. You got a nice sharp warm-up. You got a you've got a strong low pressure system that is kind of drawing in this warm air as well, that is drawing it into this region. And what you're going to see is as we get into Tuesday, you do see a sharp cold front kind of making its way in across parts of Iowa, parts of Nebraska. You just hear my dog barking. That's parts of Wisconsin, heading to the east by the time we get into Tuesday about 1 p.m. It's going to continue to move off to the east as we get into Tuesday evening as well. You can see temperatures are going to remain in the 50s as we get into Tuesday evening into Wednesday. This cold front is the cold front that we're watching for the potential for some stronger storms early next week. Now, is that a guarantee? Absolutely not. There's still a lot to be pinned down with this, but still begs watching because there is good consistency between the GFS and the Euro on this system, and we'll get to that in just a second. So as you go further, you can see that cold front makes its way through and brings a sharp cool down on the back side of it. As it passes through, you see temperatures cool back down into the freezing mark around Thursday morning, and then temperatures will be back into the 40s, so still relatively warm-ish, but not nearly as warm as we're going to get Tuesday afternoon. I mean, look at this as we get into Tuesday early afternoon. You can see temperatures are close to, close to 75 degrees across portions of Illinois, portions of Missouri. So something definitely worth watching with that warmer weather that is on the way. So let's talk Thursday's system first of all. Okay, so Thursday's system, we are watching a small potential for maybe some thunderstorms. Are they going to be strong? No, probably not. There will be a little bit of instability favoring them. The Euro and GFS are in disagreement on this system right now. Okay, so the Euro is depicting this system to move farther to the south across portions of Indiana and Ohio. There will be a little bit of instability present with the system as it makes its way through, and there will be the potential for some elevated storms that could produce some thunder and lightning, maybe a little bit of small hail. And this depiction by the Euro is placing it farther to the south, so that's something that could possibly occur. And as that moves through, we'll see that quick dip of cooler temperatures with the north wind that makes its way on the backside of the low pressure system. So that's something that we're watching for Thursday. And the GFS, again, we're going to go out to a national view of the GFS, but you can see the GFS has a little bit of a different take on this system. The low actually moves a little bit further to the north and actually brings thunderstorms much more into Michigan, and also some possibility of a few storms into Indiana. So it's still some things to be trimmed out with this. So again, still some variabilities there. The one place where the variability is not as common is when we get further on into next week. So we got that cooler weather making its way through by the time we get into Saturday. Next week, we're watching, and this has been pretty consistent on the models now, a deepening low pressure system associated with a nice trough on the backside and a good ridge on the front that could bring the potential for some showers and thunderstorms across Michigan, Indiana, and Ohio. And right now, as the current models stand, some of the storms could be strong to severe. How severe still begs to be in question, but there are some dynamics in place for severe weather setup as we get into next week. You can see a sounding here. Got low cloud bases. You have instability around 300, which again is not really that much, but look at the wind barbs on the right side of this. You can see that there's very strong wind shear with this system, so even a little bit of instability embedded with that strong wind shear, and then you've got some 3 cape, which is that surface level cape, could favor a few development of a few stronger storms farther to the north. Now, is this a guarantee? Again, like I said, models can change frequently, so there's going to be some changes as we get to this point, and it's probably more than likely that it's going to shift a little bit to the south. But week out, watching those trends, watching those changes that could occur within the upcoming weather models. But there is something just worth making a note of as this system continues to evolve over the next few days. So we're watching it, and we'll keep our eyes peeled for it, but you can see that a cluster of thunderstorms might develop along ahead of this as we get into Wednesday morning as well. Still packing a little bit of severe potential with these as they move through. Still, you've got that warm air on the front side, and then you've got that very cold air on the back side, and some good wind shear associated with this system too. So once that moves out, we get some cooler weather back into Michigan, Indiana, Ohio. Might even bag a little bit of snow as we get into Thursday, as we get into the longer range. But we're not going to get that far. But this is the one that we're watching for an upcoming stronger storm event possibly with this. So let's move a little bit forward and show you exactly how the wind is how the wind's acting in the different parts of the atmosphere. So again, you have your upper level jet being shown right here, And what the expectation is with this system as it makes its way into the Great Lakes region come next week is a nice ejection of stronger winds in the upper levels, including the mid levels and low levels. So there's going to be good wind shear associated with this pattern that's going to be making its way through, and it really focuses across Michigan, Indiana, and Ohio presently based on the GFS model. Now the Euro you're going to see shifts it a little bit further to the south and west, and that still has will still have a role in the impacts for the Great Lakes region as it makes its way through. And it's more than likely that these models will continue to trend it a little bit further to the south. It's probably going to be one that impacts more southern regions, but with the consistency in place, we're just watching it. So going forward, you can see that it makes its way. That strong wind shear still continues along with the system. And then by the time we get into Wednesday into Thursday, it begins to make its way out. So it finally moves its way out of the area. And then you've got a strong jet kind of hovering over us at that point. But compare it to the Euro. So again, here's where the dip in the trough is. Compare it. Okay, up here, by the time we get to Wednesday, you have it more up to the north and east. Here it's further to the south and west. Now the timing is going to be a little bit different. It shifts the stronger winds further to the east. Oh wait, I'm actually need to back it up a little bit. So by the time we get into around the same time, you see that there's not really as good of a definition here as we get into Wednesday evening. Like, where is that major dip in the trough and where's the focus of those winds? So it's a little bit different. It dips it further to the south and to the west. So again, that's where we're seeing that model variability with this system that could be on the way for Tuesday. So begs watching, begs to keep our eyes peeled for it. So the model variability, again, the SPC actually put some information out about this, a brief statement about this system that's making its way through. Again, they've also determined, because of the model variabilities, we're not going to put out any risk area for this just yet, but it's just going to be begging note that there will be some severe weather somewhere on the eastern side of the continental United States, probably at the beginning of next week. So it's something to watch out for. Here's the mid-level. Okay, so as you get to you can see that the mid-level jet, as the storm passes through on Tuesday, according to the GFS, is focused again across Michigan, Indiana, Ohio, with that trough that's making its way through. And you can see that the winds are coming much out of the south and west. There's good speed shear, and there's probably going to be a little bit of directional shear with the southerly winds at the surface. So that's just the thing that we are making a note of as this passes on through. And then again, instability will be present with this system. Comparing the models of the Euro and the GFS, you can see that there is instability of roughly 1,000 to 1,500, close to 2,000 even across portions of Illinois. And it's pretty consistent with regards to that instability Tuesday afternoon across Illinois in particular. Not as much instability as if you look in parts of Michigan. But again, if you look at the crossover between the different layers of the atmosphere, you do see that directional shear that's present and that speed shear. You've got southerly winds at the surface, and then you have southwesterly winds in the mid layer, and then in the upper levels you've got that getting closer to that more westerly flow of winds in that particular area. So getting a sounding out ahead of this system. The Euro actually does depict marginal severe potential for Tuesday afternoon as well. Cape values of about 400. Not as much surface level Cape, but cloud bases will be much lower. You do have some cloud tops that are a little bit higher up there in the 9-kilometer region. The highest base you can get is much higher. But again, with the current season that we're in right now, it's not really going to be the case with some of these storms that make their way through. But again, begs watching. So again, I'm just putting this out there to say there's probably going to be some activity coming through early next week. Do we know the extent of this pattern? Not entirely just yet. Here's an icon view of the instability for Tuesday afternoon, still showing that instability across Illinois and southern Michigan and that directional and speed shear. So that's a third model that's kind of agreeing with the fact that, hey, there's probably going to be something across the Great Lakes region come Tuesday afternoon, Tuesday evening. So lots to watch. Make sure to subscribe. Try to keep you updated on the latest information that comes out on the models. And should this continue to evolve into something across Michigan, I am going to do my dead level best to try to make sure I can get out and chase that event. It could be a pretty active day, and especially for the end of February, it's going to be rather interesting. And I mean, with the current pattern that we are dealing with right now, wouldn't be surprised to see a severe weather event sometime. It might be a little early, but anything can happen. So thanks for watching, everybody, and I will see you all later.